In 2008, Blue Sky Studios took another break from the Ice Age franchise to do an adaptation of Dr. Seuss's Horton, Hears a Who. It makes sense to do Dr. Seuss in animation. They tried it with live action, they tried it with The Grinch, and The Cat in the Hat was apparently so bad, Audrey Geisel, the widow to Dr. Seuss, ceased any future live-action adaptations. Blue Sky was the first studio to tackle a feature-length animation film of the writer's work, but does it stay true to the original source material more so than the live-action features? Directed by Jimmy Hayward, later known for his work on Jonah Hex and Freebirds, and Steve Martino, who'd later take on the Peanuts movie, Horton Hears a Who follows the story of the classic book that every kid has read, but expands it to an hour and a half. This can't be the easiest thing to accomplish, and the two previous feature-length adaptations, How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Cat in the Hat, didn't do too much to prove these stories should be expanded upon. Granted, I like Ron Howard's The Grinch, and The Cat in the Hat kind of works as a weird time capsule of corporate manipulation covered in strange production design, directed by an actual production designer, Bo Welch. Horton Hears a Who already had a half-hour TV special in 1970, and if you go back to 1942, Horton's predecessor, Horton Hatches the Egg, was adapted as a Warner Brothers short. Also, I only just discovered that the book Horton Hatches the Egg came out before Horton Hears a Who. But my point is, I wasn't sure this story could be expanded upon further. When it was released, I remember liking it enough, but all these years later, upon rewatching it, it's actually not that good. There's not enough plot to make for a longer runtime, and while it stays true to the original source material, things start to drag after the opening few minutes. Right away, I'll point out the good stuff. The animation is pretty good 14 years later. It's not extremely detailed, but simple with the colors and characters, evoking the style of Dr. Seuss. Even today, I'm surprised how well the pages translate to computer animation. The characters move swiftly and goofy, the angles are flimsy, and Horton himself looks pretty identical to his original appearance. It's not all perfect, which I'll get to in a moment. I also commend that the comedy, for the most part, isn't riddled with modern references. It's not exactly a funny film, but it's better than having nods to everything popular in 2008, or potty humor. There's nothing too cringy here, except that REO Speedwagon sing-along, but maybe that's just me. However, I feel like I'm giving credit for the things the movie doesn't do, rather than what it does. Even if the plot isn't stuffed with random story beats, it doesn't make the argument that we should be watching this for 86 minutes. Horton finds the speck, travels through the jungle to find a safe home, Sour Kangaroo tries to stop him, and the mayor of Whoville, along with the other Whos living in the speck, do everything they can to be heard by the jungle getting in Horton's way. It's just like the book, but that doesn't work for something that's this long. So you're in a tricky position. Do you add nothing and risk being a boring movie, or do you create new story threads that risk ruining your project? I think about the Lorax because while I'm not the biggest fan, the animation is similar to Horton and how it respects the original source material, and though it may have a corporate feel, the Lorax at least has a backstory and new characters that support the main message. There's not as many stakes riding on Horton. The only new thing is the people of Whoville, especially the city council, do not believe the mayor that Horton is speaking to him, but this gets confusing. I know this character is the mayor in the original story, but I'm not sure the message of political figures ignoring the truth works when the guy in charge of the city is pushing for the truth to come out. Usually the politicians are blocking this, but here, the city council tries to stop him. Why does the city council seem to be in more control than the mayor? When the mayor finally has the evidence of Horton's existence, the city council immediately accepts it and backs down, completely changing personality. They no longer try to spin the narrative. Do we really think that happened in the real world? The messaging here doesn't work. It's underwritten. They also try to have this additional angle with Jojo, the mayor's son. In the book, Jojo is quiet throughout, but when the city makes noise for the jungle to hear them, it's Jojo's yell that finally gets heard. In the film, Jojo doesn't have much of a relationship with his father and goes to the abandoned observatory. We don't discover why he goes here until the end, but since we only visit this secret location once, there's not a lot of suspense for what's hiding within. At the finale, we see he's built this giant music maker, which helps Whoville to be heard. However, it's still not enough noise, and Jojo's yell is still what saves the day, just like the book. Since they don't dive into the father-son bond that much, this small addition is pointless. I do like the animation, but some of the additional character designs aren't great. The cows, the mouse, and the kangaroo all look off-putting. I can tell they're meant to be from Dr. Seuss, but there's just something unappealing about them. Even though the colors and movements are spot on, there's not a whole lot of Seuss-like activity going on. I think about the montage and musical bits in Chuck Jones's Grinch, or even the wackiness of the designs in the live-action features, but here, there's a lot of plainness. It's only at the end where things really ramp up. Now that I think about it, this probably should have been a musical. That at least would have added an extra element not in the original story. The voice actors are miscast. There's some great matches, like Will Arnett as the Russian Vulture, and Carol Burnett as the Karen Kangaroo, and I didn't even recognize Dan Fogler as the chairman. I'm impressed by that choice. But this is from that era where everyone who appeared in a Judd Apatow production managed to get voiceover roles, and a lot of these range from pointless to out of place. Jim Carrey is fine as Horton, but it's too bad his performance is done behind a mic rather than in front of the camera. Steve Carell, Jonah Hill, Isla Fisher, Amy Poehler, these are all big names, but they don't add much except to be used in all the marketing materials. Seth Rogen as the little mouse is probably the worst. I just don't understand the necessity of this character, but anytime I see him, I feel like it's a fake video. Like it's meant for a different voice actor, but someone posted this on YouTube, like Morton, but with Seth Rogen's voice. Except this somehow made it into the final edit. The marketing for this film was ridiculous, utilizing all of the actors' names as if they mattered more than the movie itself, and featuring that REO Speedwagon song, which to this day still bewilders me. It's disappointing because this is probably the closest in purity that a feature-length Dr. Seuss adaptation has gotten to the original source material. It puts me in a weird position because while this is respectful, I still dislike it, but only because they don't have much going on. Any small details they add are confusing or underwritten, probably on purpose because the creators wanted to avoid tainting the original. They were too scared to try anything different, and I don't blame them. So the real question is, should any of these movies be adapted to feature-length runtimes? My answer would be no. Except, recently I was proven wrong when Netflix produced Green Eggs and Ham, a multi-episode series that managed to stay true to the original source. It lifts directly from the pages with its hand-drawn animation style, and it turns the classic characters into complex, enduring personalities. With Horton Hears a Who, I think it just does the biggest sin that I think any movie can do, which is, it's boring. I just get bored while watching it. But when it came out, it was really well received. A lot of people liked it. So I might be alone with my sentiments, so let me know what you think of the film. I think we can all agree it's at least better than The Cat in the Hat.
Special thanks to Anthony for this Patreon request. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.